Fortunately, I have some help. The interesting thing about juggling is that whether you're a beginner or an expert, and wherever you are in the world, laws of physics and mathematics determine what patterns you can throw. For most of us, juggling evokes images of circuses, sleight of hand, and games. But for thousands of years, juggling was a mystery associated with sorcery and priesthoods. Today, this ancient art has returned to the keepers of modern arcane knowledge, mathematicians, like Ron Graham of Bell Labs.
A lot of the people who are juggling these days, especially on campuses, turn out to be mathematicians and computer scientists. And people have tried to think about why this is. It isn't random. And I think that one of the explanations is that juggling and computer science, for example, have a large common component. In juggling, there's a saying, the trouble with juggling is that the balls go where you throw them. And in computer science, the trouble with programming is that the machine does exactly what you tell it to. In juggling, there are certain patterns. At least you try not to have completely random juggling patterns, and you hope your program doesn't do completely random things.
Mathematics supplies us with a variety of tools for studying different phenomena. Continuous mathematics studies processes and quantities that vary smoothly. Looking at a river, we can see it as a continuous flow of water. Looking more closely, we see that the river is made up of many discrete particles, separate water molecules. Individual particles and interrupted motion fall within the field of discrete mathematics.
Juggling, for example, the basic pattern is a very discrete pattern in which each hand throws and the other one catches. This is so-called three-ball cascade. Of course, if you ran it backwards, it would look like this. Whereas if you did this, it's really the same pattern, but twisted up in a certain way. If you do four balls, you may not realize it if you see a four-ball pattern, which typically looks like this. What's really happening, in fact, one hand is doing two balls, the other hand is doing two balls, and when they're put together, they could be put together this way, but it's more interesting and a little more deceptive to put them together this way. And the reason that's the basic pattern for four balls and not the crossing pattern is that if you tried to do four balls with two hands in an equally spaced way, you would get collisions in the middle. And the fact that 2 divides 4 is really the basic reason why that happens, but 2 doesn't divide 3 or doesn't divide 5, and that's why you can do these crossing patterns with 3 or 5 balls.
This is the odd number crossing pattern, or cascade. This shower pattern is good for odd or even numbers, and though it may look easier than the cascade, it demands more concentration and even faster hands. The speed of the juggler's hands is only one of the factors that limits how many things he can juggle. Gravity is another. The more things we want to juggle, the higher we must toss each one. To double the amount of time that the club is in the air, the juggler must throw it 4 times as high. As we gain height, we gain time, but we lose accuracy. Crouching to the ground in order to gain another moment of time, racing against gravity's downward urgings. The juggler's entire body plays its part in this struggle. Muscles, nerves, and senses vanquish the forces of gravity and time. Thanks to the complex interactions of nerve and muscle, it is possible for a skilled juggler to work without sight, relying only on his other senses and the accuracy of his movements.
It turns out that juggling is actually a very complex business. And what your brain and your hand and eye and the muscle structure of your arm and fingers can do is very hard to simulate by a machine.
Constructing these juggling clowns led another mathematician, Dr. Claude Shannon, to become more intrigued with the problem of building a real juggling machine.
Machines like this only give the illusion of juggling. They have a complex mechanism, but the props, as we call them, never actually leave the ground. They're all held up by black wires and so on. And so far as I know, no one had ever built a real juggling machine. It occurred to me that I would like to try to do that.
The juggler's skills cannot yet be engineered. To build a device that could imitate him, Dr. Shannon had to simplify the problem.
When you bounce juggle, the ball is almost stationary, so you're not wasting much energy. All you have to do is give it a little toss like that, and it will come back to the same height. So you're saving a lot of energy. One can see how easy it is. Another aspect of this is that the ball is moving slowly when you catch it.
W.C. Fields, Dr. Shannon's juggling machine, lacks feedback. It can't sense variations in its toss or catch, and so must rely only on the repetitive dynamics of the ball's fall and bounce in order to maintain its rhythmical cascade. Cup-like hands help make up for the lack of feedback, catching and funneling the balls back onto the optimum path. The mathematical analysis of juggling has not yet led to any new discoveries. Perhaps it never will. But precisely the same kind of mathematics that's used to playfully unravel the hidden paths in juggling can be used to understand the greater complexities of the real world. Whether studying the flow of discrete particles, balls, or airplanes, the mathematical techniques, the ways of thinking, are the same. The tools of discrete mathematics aid in the endless quest for rhythm and pattern, for the best path, the optimum schedule. We can construct machines that help in calculating the possible permutations of complex schedules. We can program computers to play chess. But the human being alone can match the elegance of mathematics with the juggler's mysterious art.
Exposing Newton's feet of clay. Newton had proved the stability of the solar system with an appallingly simple model. The gravitational interaction of two bodies. His equations of motion worked. The good news was hastily extrapolated to the universe at large.
Well, Newton believed in the stability of the model, but he still had his deepest questions, I guess, about the connection between the model and the real solar system. So he believed that the solar system, which obviously had several more planets, but also comets and other strange phenomena, that there, in order to keep it on a regular track, that it was necessary for God to push with his divine finger the reset button of the universe annually and keep things going the way they were supposed to go.
Mistrusting Newton's metaphysics, 19th century mathematicians attempted to extend Newton's equations to just three bodies. Disaster. They could find no stable solution. Poincaré bluntly reasoned that since Newton couldn't predict the outcome for three bodies, we couldn't prove the stability of the solar system either. And if prediction was out, we would have to settle for description. The juggler makes his three-body problem look easy. When Poincaré tried to describe the real thing, he ended up with chaos. A vision of orbits that were as tangled as a ball of string. It's so complicated, he said, that I cannot even attempt to draw it. We can see what Poincaré was driving